1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 51. We are one episode away from our 1 year anniversary of doing this podcast.
Wait, so we got... Oh my god, I just realised we did 50 and... Well, okay, before we move on...
Okay.
Kudos to yourself for that beautiful artwork you did for the last episode.
Yeah, so for those that are listening to this on any audio platform and not seeing it on YouTube, we have custom thumbnails that we do for the YouTube version of these podcasts. Blue is normally the one that makes them, being much more talented with the graphical design and visual editing software. He wasn't here last week, so I had to make it myself, and I'm okay at it. But one of his stipulations was I couldn't use his background asset, so I had to redraw it. And rather than actually take time, make the shapes, I literally just drew it.
Honestly, I thought you were going to draw the foreground items as well.
I thought about it, but...
You're not that brave. That's fair enough.
It would have come out as stick figures. Honestly, that might have been funnier. But I did figure out how to do cropping for the A Way Out video, so I decided to make use of that talent. Newly acquired skill.
You have got the font down perfectly on the numbering.
Didn't I just draw it?
It's like a 2-year-old, but... But anyway, yes, so the reason why Kaiser had to uptake this task is because I've let off some of the slack because I was on holiday this week. And oh boy, was it hot in Cornwall where I headed. I don't know how it's been over there. How has it been?
Hot. Very, very hot. Although today it's raining, which is a relief, honestly.
I fucking wish. Yeah, every single day. Actually, no, first 2 days it tipped down, I think. But then every day after that, it's been hot. We've been going out every single day, doing activities, which for a shut-in nerd like myself, it's very difficult. But we got there. Yeah, and I established some slightly weird... I don't know, I established a weird quirk on this holiday where... So I like to sleep when I'm in the car, because I don't like travelling, right? I should point out this is obviously when I'm not driving.
Yeah. Unless you're driving a Tesla.
And yes, I was falling asleep, but 5 times throughout the journey there and back, I'd be asleep, and then I would either suddenly snore ridiculously loudly and wake myself up, a single one, or I'd just randomly spasm in the back seat just for no reason and just scare the shit out of myself and everyone else in the car.
God.
It's really fucking weird, and I felt bad about it.
Periodic seizures.
Yeah, but no. It was good. Played a lot of Switch, a lot of Mario Kart while I was there. It's kind of one of those games that you can just keep going back to no matter what. Especially when there are other people around to challenge. And I was playing, the four of us were playing at the time, and I was being cocky as fuck, because I am just the best at that game in the family. And my girlfriend's brother-in-law, I think, he was hot on my heels for a lot of it. And it was the last race. We were both on even points, and I was ahead of him by 10 meters. I could see the finish line, and I celebrated. It was
and then he passed.
Hell yeah! I put my hands up in the air. Forgot that the controller had, automatic remote turning depending on how you're holding the controller.
Oh my god, I hate motion controls. Alright, go on.
I fucking hate it. I always have it turned off, but because I passed the controller from someone else who's using it, it was still on. And I nosedived a meter from the line on the last race into the side, and he went past me. And oh my god.
It's one of those compilation videos you see online of people celebrating too early. They throw their hands up because they're about to win a bike race, and then somebody blows past them.
Yeah, it's got to be a Reddit somewhere. Spoke too soon or something.
Or I'm pretty sure I've seen compilation videos of it. People celebrating too early.
Yeah, God, I can't believe I did that. It's funny as fuck, though.
Hilarious. So good vacation, nice and restful.
Yep, saw lots of animals, went to lots of beaches. There was a the pool tables there, right? So there was snooker and pool tables, which you could hire out for an hour, and it was free. 100% free. That's fucking rare.
Yeah.
It's always like £1 to play, or 50p even, or whatever. But no, this was completely free. And you had to book them. You could start booking from the previous day at 7 p.m, right? Mm-hmm. That's when the booking opened. I went every day to try and book a pool table for any time.
And it was always
from
booked?
6 to 9 o'clock. 6 to 9 p.m. Every single fucking day, from 5 till 9, some wanker had got there first, right? And it can't just be one. I'm assuming they don't just let one family book 4 hours in a row, because that'd be fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also, if you're playing on the snooker table or the pool table, no one else is allowed to use the other snooker or pool table.
Why?
Because COVID guidelines.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting you guys still have that stuff over there. They've basically gotten rid of all of that in Massachusetts, so...
It's like to rub salt in the wound. No one was even on the table, and we couldn't book it out. And this whole week I went there. I went there at 7:30 p.m. at one point, so half an hour after the booking had opened on the previous day, and all those slots had been filled. I was fucking livid.
I was wondering how they had everything booked out, but it's okay because you can only have one of the tables in use. That's really stupid.
Yeah, it really annoyed me. But yeah, they had a swimming pool, which again you had to book, but I actually managed to get a slot in that. That was good. Got horribly sunburnt because I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I mean,
but on the bright side, I have quite the tan now.
You can see my forehead, especially. I was out at a cookout yesterday, and my face did also get sunburned, which is fortunately neither of us on camera for this one.
Yeah, well, and so you know, fuck me, how much is? So a bottle of your average bottle of alcohol, right?
Depends on the type, but go on.
So I got one of the super large ones that you tend to get in like bars and stuff, and they have them upside down and they can just pour out of them, right?
They don't really have that so much in the US, but I have seen them when I was over in Europe.
Oh, they're not in America? Oh, okay.
They're not as common at, like, the tap of liquor that you see at those bars. They do exist over here, they're just not that common.
Well, anyway, there's like big sized bottles, right?
Yeah.
I had 1.5 of those bottles to myself across the week. I had about 3 pints of rum.
Jesus Christ.
Among other drinks. Now, I don't drink much. But
you're
holiday,
on vacation, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it. I drank probably one of the whole bottle of that. So 2 pints over about one day, I think.
It's interesting. Those... I'm trying to think, because I remember talking to somebody that from someone in Europe. I can't remember if it was a coworker or somebody else. May have even been you. Right. But somebody was telling me, so we have you can get bottles of different varieties of alcohol over here in what we call handles, which are 1.75 liters.
Right.
And so like there's the standard sizes you can buy stuff in is 750 milliliters, or a handle, which is it's a whole liter more than that. And somebody was telling me you couldn't get those over there, which I didn't believe. But maybe it's true. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
From the sound of this thing, what you're describing it sounds as big, if not bigger.
Yeah. Well, especially because obviously I got this bottle. This is like
a more normal
size, a lot smaller.
One. Yeah.
Than the one that it was. Anyway, so yeah, lots of fun drinking, and the God's alcohol smiled on me because I didn't have a hangover. The other guy I was with, though, gone.
All that extra sunshine and
I guess
outdoorsiness.
The other guy I was with, he's obviously not quite as strong a drinker, but he's one of these people who can chug anything.
Oh, I can't do
He
that.
had a tall pint of beer, and he downed 2 of them that night.
I can't drink quickly. Like,
Yeah.
I've never understood people that can do shots. I've never understood people like I can do a shot. I just find them unpleasant. Like, I'd rather get something nice and sip on it, you know. Or the people who like chug beers. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, I like said it jokingly. I was like, let's have a chug, and then he fucking downed it, and I was sat there with my dick in my hands, like, oh shit, now I gotta down mine. And I've just had 2 pints of cider. Oof. Yeah, that was pretty much the main points of my holiday. How's your week been?
The week itself has been pretty dull. It's been work during the day, and then, you know, in the evenings, just been playing like single player stuff. Oh, yeah. So this is something that just amuses me whenever I think about it. A couple of my friends got a kick out of it. So I got an Xbox Series X, the new one that just came out, the one that looks like a refrigerator, the one that's been shortages because every computer component and stuff has had shortages this past season. But I got one, and I mainly got it because when Halo comes out, I want to play Halo on the console, like the new Halo. I'm hoping for it. Halo Infinite looks good. You know what game I've been playing mostly on that thing? That giant black cube of a console?
I don't know, Tetris?
Morrowind. The original Morrowind. Elder Scrolls.
Interesting.
I found my old original Xbox copy of Morrowind Game of the Year edition, and I was like, I wonder if this thing has backwards compatible going all the way back to and it does.
Nice.
So I have been playing an original Xbox game that I played in high school on this brand new fancy console. I did also try it. It will run Cyberpunk, which was notoriously glitchy on the PS4 and Xbox One, but this one can apparently handle it. It's a lot more stable.
Oh, really? Have a lot of the glitches gone? Or have
Yeah, I had to download like a 45 gigabyte patch.
Right.
But they've been patching the console versions heavily because they were really, really glitchy at the beginning. But yes, I've been that's what I've been doing during the week. But yesterday was the reason that I'm sunburnt. Finally, a bunch of my college friends and I, for the first time in like a year, we all got together and did like a cookout at
nice.
one of my friends and his wife. They bought a house. None of us have seen it. They haven't had guests pretty much at all. Because it was all during this lockdown. So they were eager to have people over, show off everything around the house.
Is this Daddy? Is this Daddy?
No. This is my friend Kevin from college.
Okay.
But he was there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went up there, and like the only people I've seen during this lockdown that I know from college have been Juan and Raymond.
Yeah.
And Juan only recently, because he's been down in Florida the whole time.
Oof.
Because he's a kid, and he's like, I'm not spending the entire winter locked inside in Massachusetts. I'm going somewhere warm so that the kid doesn't drive us crazy. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But it was great. Yard games, played bocce, played badminton.
Also, you say that in a really weird way. I almost misheard it the first time you said that.
Wait, badminton?
Yeah.
How do you say
it? It sounds like you're saying badminton.
I am.
Like a naughty glove.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
it's badminton.
Minton? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that Boston accent. We tend to drop consonants.
Yeah. There's a lot of consonants out there, guys.
Well, okay. So the city that I went to college in spelled WORCESTER. How would you pronounce that?
Wait, sorry. Say again.
So WORC.
Oh. Yeah, but that's a classic one.
Yeah, well,
that's.
I'm saying, like,
So-
it's spelled like Worcester, and we pronounce it Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester or Worcestershire.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
But you don't drop the N off of Boston, do you?
well, no, but it's because there's. I'm just saying, there's a lot of words like this. It's a complicated accent.
Busto.
You like there are quite a few words and towns and things that people from my state will usually just drop consonants in the middle of the word.
Oh, we'll add them.
Yeah. How you get, when people say, it's not park, it's park.
It's not cabbage, it's cabbaggio.
That's what? Anyways, we went up there, played games all day. We thought about, normally when we get together, it was play some board games or something like that. But honestly, it'd been so long since any of us had seen each other in person. Most of the time, people just sat around, talking, exchanging stories, and, playing games in the yard.
Some fun physical ones.
Yeah. Oh, and two of my other friends, they had this big dog. But it is, the friendliest, most well-behaved dog. The dog's name is Sadako, and she,
Do you know what breed she is?
What?
Do you know
I
what
think a
breed
black
she is?
lab. I'm pretty sure she's a black lab.
Oh, okay.
But just very calm, very well behaved. The one thing she does, she'll run up and just lean into you, or she also likes running between people's legs, which is fine for people like my taller friends, like Jesse. Jesse, she just goes right through his legs, no problem. But for most people,
There's a less clearance.
For most people, she just rams into your crotch. Which, if you're not prepared for it, can be quite painful. But the other thing, when I got there, she ran over and is rubbing up against me, and I'm scratching her head, and then she just leans her side into me, and then keeps leaning, and then keeps leaning, and then keeps leaning, and eventually she's putting so much weight on me, it nearly knocked me over.
God, yeah, I really used to do that a hell of a lot. So you'd be scratching him, and he'd really enjoying it, and so his instinct when being scratched is just to lean. Yeah. And so he would do that. He'd keep doing it, and then eventually he just falls over because he's a fucking parallel with the floor.
Oh my god.
Yeah. God, but then we got got my brother's cats over apparently today.
Yeah, I just saw one walk behind you in your camera, not recently, but earlier.
Okay.
It was 10 minutes ago. I didn't want to.
They
say
are like little fucking ninjas, which is great. Cause I love them. Big Maine Coons.
God.
Big cats.
There was so many.
Go on.
I realize this whole segment, the topics of this segment are just this is
Just what we've been up to.
just an update on life, wholesome stories, vacation.
Yeah.
Oh,
I get to feed goats.
you get to feed goats? Oh yeah, you sent a picture of a goat.
Goats. Did I send you the video?
No, you didn't send the video. You sent a picture.
They gave us both these packets of goat feed, and they had these beautiful goats. Some of them had these most amazing beards. And they'd come up to the fence, they'd put their two hooves up on the fence, and they'd kind of poke their head through. And they're very gentle. You'd think, I don't know, they'd be a bit nippy, but no, they're very just lovely.
I mean, they probably know that they're getting fed, so they're perfectly content. Oh yeah, I'll be nice.
Yeah, they had they had so many birds and things. Obviously dinosaurs, as you saw. and then they have just a single bunny rabbit. And it was so cute and alone. And I was like, oh,
God,
yeah, it was great. They also had a fucking golden eagle.
Oh, that's what else happened.
It's fucking huge.
I was trying to think because we recorded the podcast on Friday last week, so I didn't tell you about this. We had so last Saturday I went home to my parents' place. So it's actually 2 Saturdays in a row I went out to some kind of a cookout. Because my hometown does fireworks a week after 4th of July. Now, fireworks went off from the town. Great. Cool watching it. But then, just after that, first of all, I should say that, owning fireworks for, personal use in my state is illegal. But the state that's I could get there in 20 minutes. They have
Wait, it's illegal for you
tons
to own fireworks.
for personal use on your own property. I think with special licenses and stuff like that, if you have a certain amount of clearance, like a certain amount of acreage on your land, you can do it. But in residential areas, you're not allowed to.
Holy fuck, we are completely allowed to. That's weird.
It depends. You can have things like those little sparklers and stuff, but I'm talking the
No,
big
we can
ass.
set off fireworks.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
Well, to be
as
fair,
far as I'm aware. Anyway.
to be fair, my state is fairly restrictive, but 20 minutes north of me in New Hampshire, they're perfectly available, perfectly legal, and they're a giant.
They're not even fireworks at that point. They're just firing grenade launchers into the
They're
sky. and
just
waiting
perfectly. But people will go up from Massachusetts, just buy a whole crap ton of them, drive back, and then light them off anyway. And depending on how anal your town is, some of them will get very pissy that you're lighting them off, and some of them won't. In my hometown, one of our neighbors shot off a fireworks display much more elaborate than the town's, and it's it's right across the street from me. So it was just a complete. It was so loud and so close, and they do this every year. Honestly, it's probably what being under artillery fire was like. Would be because it's just. And the sad part about this is it really freaked our dog out. I
was gonna say, how was he?
He was hiding under a chair. He did not like the big booms. So it took us a while to calm him down after everything was over. But still, beautiful display to look at. Really cool. I got to show you a video of it later because I took one. But
Nice.
yeah, it's unfortunate. It used to freak out our cat when he was around too.
Yeah.
Can't remember if our old dog had much of a problem with it. He was a lot more chill.
Most dogs do though. It's understandable with their hearing.
Yeah. Same thing with cats. Very heightened hearing. But anyway, that was a cool thing. Got to use what?
No, that's right. I thought you'd finished your sentiment.
No, that was it. Fireworks display.
The only reason I found out that it was the 4th of July. I think you told me previously, but
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, I was in Cornwall. I booted up Pokemon Go and I'm like, why are there fireworks? Why are we celebrating this?
You want it region locked? Only the Americans get the fireworks?
Well, I'm just like, I had no idea why it was happening, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's because that country that got away from us.
The one that got away.
But it was a nice reminder.
That's America.
Now it's some kind of weird Pokey Fest thing. I don't really get it. But yeah. I'm still a slave to that game.
I should get back to playing it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't take me. Because there's the canal right outside my window. I actually can get a lot of water type Pokemon. They spawn out there.
Yeah. I was talking to Alicia a few days ago. I was like, what if you just got on a boat and went a little ways offshore and had 4G or whatever? Would you just get all the water types?
You do. I've done it in Boston Harbor.
Oh damn.
I've been.
That's cool.
We were taking a boat out to. It was a company event, and my company. There's a bunch of islands in Boston Harbor, and a couple of them are privately owned. They rent them out for events, so you can have cookouts, and they have yard games and stuff set up out there, like horseshoes and stuff like that. So my company for our summer outing was. They took us out on a boat to that. So I was playing Pokemon Go on the boat ride out, and I was like, yeah, I was getting tons of them. Water types and a few flying types.
Oh, nice. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I detest mobile games, as you know.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either.
There's I think 3 mobile games on my phone, one of which is RuneScape, so not actually a mobile phone game. One is an AI dungeon it's just a really cool. It basically makes a story, and you can like put in your add in things. And yeah, the other one's Pokemon Go, because there is nothing better when you're waiting for a meal to arrive or something, when you're out eating. Let's flip that open. There's normally Wi-Fi and a few Pokestops nearby because it's a restaurant.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Pokemon... I think on my phone, my actual phone, I have Solitaire and Pokemon Go, and that's it in terms of games. I do have a tablet, and on that one, I also have Hearthstone, TFT, and Knights of the Old Republic, actually, because they made a mobile version.
Wow.
It's
that
actually
seems mad.
It's actually pretty functional. I mean, the game's pretty old at this point. It came out in the early 2000s, so it should be able to run on a tablet.
Yeah. Makes sense. No, I actually had lunch before I got back to Bath today, and me and Lissy were sitting there, and we had our meal. We both had like a breakfast. She had extra hash browns. We both had drinks, and then one of the waiting staff came to the table and put a drink of Pepsi down, and they're like, this is yours. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't know you'd ordered another drink, sweetie. I didn't. I thought you did. Oh. I guess this is someone else's. Well, it's on our table and it's COVID, so I guess no one else can drink it. Yoink.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes later, so I assume whoever had ordered it had like complained and been like, "Oh, we're sorry, sir. Take the drink to that person," right? 5 or 10 minutes later, she comes back over again with an entire breakfast, like a big breakfast. And we're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
We didn't...
Joke's over. This isn't ours. I don't know what... Like, how do you get a table number wrong? It's right there on the table in front of you.
Could be new wait staff. You never know.
Oh, yeah, I guess they could have thought it was a different table, I guess. But all the tables around us were empty as well. It was like... Someone just trying to make us fat.
Just trying to fatten you up.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But no, I have no quandary. If someone takes something off my table and puts it down, as far as I'm concerned, that is fair game.
Oh, can I... So, fun story. This was something I found out during the cookout yesterday. One of my friends, he was doing work, new homeowner, doing work around his house, like, trying to, they had some initial issues with, like, humidity in the basement and stuff, and, for whatever reason, they realized they needed a bucket, and they didn't have one. So, Lowe's, it's a hardware store, they ordered just 3 generic plastic buckets, right?
Mm-hmm.
The box comes, and he opens it, and there are 4 angle grinders. It's like a $400 power tool.
Jeez, what, 4 of them?
4 of them, of an identical angle grinder.
Wait, hang on, so £400 each? So 1.6 grand.
Yeah, and so he called them up and was just like, I ordered buckets and you guys sent me this. They're like, oh yeah, just bring them back to a Lowe's store and we'll give you a new bucket. And he's like, yeah, okay. And he hung up and just bought new buckets. He's like, I'm not bringing these back.
Fuck that.
So he kept one for himself, gave one to his dad, gave one to one of my friends yesterday, and I think his wife gave the 4th one away to one of her friends. So
yeah, I guess it would be kind of weird to sell.
He didn't even have a use for one, but now he has one in case he ever needs it for something.
It's like, that's the kind of thing where like, oh, this person had a steady income, and then they suddenly started selling angle grinders, and now they're a lot more. What kind of racketeering is going on here?
I mean, I've had mistakes like that before, and most of the time, big companies like that, it costs more for them to take it back and restock it. So, I mean, there's always going to be some, maybe not with something that expensive, but and it depends on the scale of the company. Like for Amazon, for instance, there have been times where they've lost a package. And I've called and I'm like, hey, this package didn't come. It's been 2 weeks. And they're like, okay, yeah. And they'll just send a new one.
That's what they tend to do, yeah.
But the thing is, a couple times, that package, must have gotten lost in the mail because it shows up like after
Showed
that.
up late. Yeah.
So, like for instance, the 3DS games, Pokemon Sun and Moon, I had 2 copies of each of them because I bought both of them. The package never came, and then I called them. They replaced it, and then both packages came. And so I gave 1 copy away to a friend as a birthday present. I still have 2 copies of Pokemon Moon.
Damn.
But because like.
Gotta yoink that when I'm over there.
If you want it, I'm not gonna. I don't have 3DSs.
Right, I finished the first one. Now I'm moving on to the second.
It's the same game. Oh my god! But yeah,
this time I'm going to take the female character as the main character.
Stuff like that doesn't happen too often. Like they're pretty good about it most of the time, but every now and again something like that happens, and like every retailer has what they call retailers and restaurants, they have what they call like breakage or loss, and so they always assume that a certain percentage of the product that they have in there are either going to be broken, they're going to be damaged when they come in, they're going to be potentially stolen. They do have departments called loss prevention that are there to like make sure things don't get stolen or purposely broken.
They have extra manpower.
Yeah, but it's part of what's considered overhead. It's all worked into the price of the things that you're buying at these places, for the most part. And it applies more to like really really big retailers than smaller ones. Like if you have like a mom and pop shop, their overhead, it's going to be a much thinner margin. So.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse.
But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be spending anything for quite some time now.
After that
they really fucking emptied my wallet.
That's what they tend to do.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I'm glad to be back in a nice cold room without. Well, actually, I'm back to work tomorrow, so there is still responsibility. But
I took tomorrow off work. Because I've had 2 weekends in a row where I've had a very, very busy Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did because I'm tired and sore today. So today is gonna be nice, take it easy, and then tomorrow, not gonna go into work, just chill out some more. Probably play some more Dyson Sphere Program.
Well, that's what I'm gonna be doing that tonight. I've been looking forward to that so much.
I've got to show
Not
you
even
the
because of like any interesting action stuff that could happen that's new. I just want a nice chill game like Dyson Sphere to play.
I've been having like a TV show up on my other monitor, something on Netflix or Amazon, and I've just been like building my factory. So I've taken my naming scheme for those that people should be aware if you listened to our episode from last week. The Dyson Sphere Program is a factory building game, but on a planetary scale, so multi-planetary, multi-systems, with the goal to build a Dyson Sphere to harness the full power of a star. But I have been taking my naming scheme for the planets from Warhammer. So in my system, I have Hive World 1, which is the organic one, and then I have Forge Worlds 1 and 2, which are basically barren factory planets at this point. One of them I've covered like more than a third of the surface in a factory.
Nice.
Yeah, it's getting crazy.
Some Forge Worlds.
All right.
Anyway,
yeah, let's send it up there. Anything last final thoughts in your head?
Not really. I am ready to go.
Alright. Well, this is going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. This is segment 2, our media segment. What was that noise? God damn it.
Potato.
Oh my god. Alright. This is, like I said, this is our media segment. Obviously, since Blue is out on vacation this week, we did not watch a movie together, but I have been watching quite a bit of things while I've been playing Dyson Sphere Program. Mostly some older shows, and I've also been playing quite a bit of Morrowind, so I wouldn't mind talking about that a little bit, because I'm definitely getting a lot deeper into the lore of that game than I did when I was a kid playing it, because I had a lot less patience as a young teenager. So just to start off with, the two shows that I've been watching the most while playing Dyson Sphere, both of which I've seen before, are the rebooted Doctor Who, the first few seasons of it, and
From
then
Eccleston?
that one, and then later David Tennant.
Yeah, Eccleston, Tennant, Smith.
Yeah, the Tennant episodes are definitely the ones that I liked the most.
Yeah, I think beyond they had really good actors, they had really good writers.
Yeah,
and they had a massive budget because the Eccleston one was also really fucking good.
Yeah, because it hit all the things. I did like some of the lines Eccleston had in the first season. Like she questions like why he has a northern accent, because like all the other doctors had more of a southern English accent. And he's like, a lot of places have a north. It was such a throwaway line, but it always amused me when that bit there.
Huh. Yeah.
But no.
Also, seeing some of the like, I don't know if you I see you watched the very first episode, of course, of the reboot, where some of the graphics, the animation, you could tell what time they came from, and when you see like computers and stuff, and it's the big white boxes. Mickey Smith getting sucked into a bin. God, the animation was so goofy.
Yeah, you could tell it was kind of a hokey show. Their budget wasn't so great for the first season, but they made do. And it actually came out pretty well. Like there were a few, even in the second and third seasons, you could tell that they had like a limited budget in some areas and some episodes, but they made do with it. And there's a few interesting and contrived pieces of writing in it. I can tell watching through it now, I've become a lot more jaded now that I'm in my 30s. But
I think things that were possibly dramatic back in the day, obviously they're not dramatic to us now because film has moved on so much and we can see through that.
Yeah, because this started in 2005, so we're 16 years on from that now.
But to this day, I still remember, obviously the first one being the plastic dummies, but the Slovene, it was a two-parter.
Oh yeah, when they took over Downing Street, right? Yeah, Parliament.
That was a really great one, and the first time you see Daleks and Cybermen, also.
The first time you see the Daleks, when he's just kind of unstoppably rampaging through that underground facility, that one also very cool episode.
That broken Dalek, yeah.
The Cybermen, I don't know, I always found him a bit hokey.
Yeah?
Just like...
But the first episode, that was the one with the alternate timeline, right?
Yeah, it was the alternate timeline.
Oh,
they did manage to make them seem kind of intimidating in that episode.
Marching across the lawn in the dead of night.
Yeah.
People screaming.
I don't think I should... Well, maybe I should quickly step back and explain, because maybe not everyone has seen Doctor Who. It is a British show, and I feel like it's probably not as big over here in the U.S. It did get big. No, I'm especially where I went to college. Like almost everyone. That's the reason I first heard of it in college, which again was a few years after it had started airing. And I remember Jesse had been like watching it. He was hanging out in our dorm room, and I saw him watching. I was like, "What the hell is this?" And they were already on the Matt Smith era at that point.
Oh God!
And
you missed the Tennant era. Oh my God!
I started from the beginning, so I had to go back because when I first heard of it, it was 2000. It was 2010 when I first heard of it.
Yeah.
And at that point, it had already been airing for 4 or 5 years. So I went back and I watched it. Loved the Tennant era. Matt Smith was good, but I liked his era more for the Scottish chick than for him.
I was never a fan of her, Amy Pond.
Yeah, Amy Pond. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of liked her. I liked her more than her more than the Doctor in that era.
I really liked. To be fair, Rose because she was pretty hot. But she was also she was very cool for that time.
Yeah,
that era.
She was also just like she gave off the vibe of just being like a normal person very well.
Yeah. And someone who I never thought I would like until I actually saw them doing it, and then I was like, "Holy fuck, this person is gold." Catherine Tate.
You talking about the older redhead chick?
Yeah, the comedian.
Oh, she's a comedian. I had no idea.
I think she is. She's been in other programs.
I've seen her in other things.
And
But
she's
yeah, no,
awful
same
in Little
person.
Bit. I hate
I thought I was going to hate her.
Yeah.
I honestly, from the very first moment she showed up in like a spin-off episode, like before she actually became a companion,
Yeah.
I did hate her. And then she grows on you so well, like over the course of the series.
It's no, like, with a lot of the previous companions, it's a bit, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
With her, it's like, you can really feel like they were you could put yourself in that situation. She's very down to earth.
Yeah.
She's not a special super doctor, or... To be fair, Rose was kind of the same. She was kind of like someone out looking for a job.
Yeah, she started off kind of down to earth
town.
and then grew into being something special over the course of a couple seasons.
When she got the whole God powers thing in the TV station, which was another great episode, but I didn't really like the whole taking the TARDIS into her system kind of thing.
Yeah, they did a couple interesting things, but yeah, and then the middle one, the one in between those two, whose name I honestly, other than
Martha
Rose,
Jones.
I can't remember the companions' names.
Freeman.
Yeah,
Someone Freeman, but yeah, she was called Martha Jones.
Martha Jones. Thank you. So hers, I don't know. Hers was like on an episode to episode basis. Some episodes I was like, she's awesome. Other episodes I'm like, this is getting kind of tedious. Can we move it along? Like, what's the episode where there's an episode sorry, we're going off into this and talking, and I never did actually stop and explain. The reason I was saying it might not be as popular in the US was because I think, some people who are listening may not have watched it. And so I was going to quickly... Yeah. The premise of Doctor Who is there is a alien race of beings called Time Lords. And they're essentially like this highly, highly, highly advanced species that has the ability to manipulate, space and time, essentially. In the subsequent, like in the earlier series, he's one of this race, but in the series that started in 2005, the one we're talking about, it's heavily implied that he's the last of his kind because of a war that happened between his people and another people.
And we should say there are a lot of rules and limitations, as with any space and time.
Yeah, like
film.
he can't interfere with his own timeline. He can't like go back and change events that he's already been a part of. All kinds of rules and restrictions and things like that. And the other thing is, and this is a premise for the show so they could kind of switch out the actors as the show goes on. Anytime he dies, he's able to regenerate, and he comes back with, a new body, a slightly different personality potentially, but it's still the same memories and person.
Yeah, and even different gender, but we'll get onto that.
Yeah, that one, that was a bit contrived. Actually, it's a decent idea, but they...
No, because the Master did it well.
The Master did it well, yes. That was an example of they did that well, but it was... I'm talking about the lady they had on recently as the Doctor.
No, I know what you mean.
Like, I watched a few episodes of that season, and it was just garbage.
That wasn't the rules' fault, that was shit screenwriting.
It was. It was, like, that's something... It
wasn't even the actor's fault.
It wasn't even the... I think she was... she was potentially miscast. B, the director and writers were probably crap. But, yeah, but those early seasons, especially the ones with David Tennant, absolutely awesome. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's the background. And so usually he has like some human companions with him, and they go off and have adventures through space and time, right? That's the premise of the show. And when they remade it, it's just great fun things happen. It's sometimes like there's usually some kind of a message in the episodes, or I don't know. It's oh my god, I kind of lost track of my thoughts there. But
there's always so the Doctor's always kind of been an advocate for the answer is not just to kill the enemy.
Yeah, he uses it's heavily emphasized that the only thing he ever carries with him is a screwdriver, essentially. Like he calls it a screwdriver. It's like this very high-tech piece of technology, but it's a tool. He never carries weapons, except in one episode.
To be fair, all right, the very, very first episode, are we talking about that?
No, I'm talking about when the Master is returning, and then he's bringing back Gallifrey. Okay. And the old man is trying to offer him the revolver.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to carry it. And then he finds out that the Time Lords are coming back, and that Gallifrey's returning. He immediately grabs the revolver.
Yeah.
Like, it was...
Well, no.
But they did that to emphasize the point that, like, this is such an existential threat that he's even going to violate that rule that he normally holds himself to.
Yeah, because it could end the universe. But like, a large part of the David Tennant arc was him Rose stopped him being a murderer, essentially. He was never a crazy psychotic killer before.
But he was, Yeah, it's clear that they kind of imply that he was heavily traumatized by the Time War.
Yeah, literally the very first scene from the revamped Doctor Who, the first time you see the Doctor as Christopher Eccleston, he's carrying a brick of C4 and he blows up a building.
Yeah. Oh, I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, he literally says C4 and he's carrying it along with him. Granted, there's no one in the building except, well, I guess aliens, technically. No,
yeah, those weird mannequin things.
They're not aliens because they're reanimated, so I guess it's okay, but it's still a very violent way of going about something.
Yeah. And you get peaks of that throughout the revised series that, like, unlike his previous iterations when the show was around in the 70s and 80s, like, this is very much a man who has been, like, scarred by going through that experience of the horrors of that Time War.
And even in the bad parts of Doctor Who, there are the occasional bits of gold. Like, as with any company, when they find something that's popular, they milk the shit out of it, because they're a business and that's what they do. Fine. That's why Daleks and Cybermen are no longer scary whatsoever, in any way.
Because they use them repeatedly.
Yeah. And it was great for the first few times they used it, but now it's shit. The Weeping Angels were absolutely amazing
art. Oh yeah.
Alright. That was David Tennant that started in. I'll let you go.
For reference, this is one of the enemies monsters that show up in the series, and essentially they look like statues of angels, and they've got their hands covering their eyes, and the idea is like they're a creature that will attack you, but they can only move when they're not being observed by another living creature. So the idea is if you blink, and they're extremely fast. If you blink, if you look away, that's when they get you. And when they get you, they throw you back in time and absorb the energy of throwing you out of your place in history or something like that. And that's how they feed.
Yeah.
And so that's again what makes them horrifying, is this idea that if you look away, that's when they're going to get you.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant concept because it's based on everyone has to blink as much as everyone has to breathe. And so you're sat there in front of the TV, eyes glued on it, trying not to blink. And then you're kind of terrified. Even though you know it's a show, especially if you're a kid, it is terrifying.
I saw that episode when I was in my early 20s. And I won't lie, after watching it, I felt uncomfortable around statues for a while.
Yeah.
The writing was so... And that's, I think, one of the tragedy of the later seasons, is that the writing really dropped off. In those first 4 or 5 seasons, even into the Matt Smith era a bit, the writing was so good.
We talk about the Matt Smith eras where it kind of started going wrong, right?
Yeah.
But they did have River Song.
The River Song arc was something I really liked, but I felt like they tied it up in a very lazy way.
Yeah, I think they ended it poorly.
So there's
that reveal, though.
When we're talking about the actor's name and then an era, that's basically referring to. I mentioned that the guy he regenerates. So there's the Mark Eccleston. He was the first one. He regenerates into David Tennant. These are the actors' names, not the. They're all the Doctor in the show. David Tennant goes on for a few seasons. Then he regenerates into Matt Smith. So when we're saying the era, it's what actor is actually playing the Doctor. So throughout the Matt Smith era, and part of the David Tennant era, because Riversong shows up first in his thing with the library.
Yeah.
There's this other woman who's meeting him, but all out of order. So, like, when they first meet, it's the last time that she'll see him. And
she
when
dies.
Yeah, and then when it finally gets back to the so several seasons later, then they play this up that like every time they meet, she's seen him fewer and fewer times, and he's seen her more and more times, and vice versa. They're meeting each other in reverse order in time. And at the end, like, they built it up so much throughout that season, and it gets to the end, and I was just like, that. It was such an anticlimax. In my opinion, at least.
But they made a really badass character, and I think
the
entire series would not have been the same without her.
She definitely added a lot to it. I agree.
Yeah. Then they tried to add the Forget Me creatures. Do you remember them? They were like Slender Man.
Oh yeah. I remember them.
That, in my eyes, that was them trying even harder to milk the Weeping Angels, because they are the same as the Weeping Angels. If you look away, you're in danger.
Yeah, it's one of but it's the same. It's a bit more insidious than that, though, because they don't. These were creatures, right? That after you stop observing them, you completely forget they exist. So, like, basically the idea is they're always around and constantly manipulating people and trying to influence things in their favor. And no one knows they're there, because the moment you don't look at them, you forget they're there. So people are, like, writing on their arms and hands and stuff to try and, like, remember that there are these things around them. And, it's an interesting concept, and I thought for the most part, they handled it well. But you're right, they probably are trying to go for the same feeling as the Weeping Angels.
They did revamp the angels, though, I thought, in one episode where the image of an angel is an angel. Do you remember that part?
Yes, that's in Matt Smith as well, when they were at some kind of a dig site. And
with a religious group of soldiers.
Yeah, it was that was interesting how they did that. It was the Catholic Church had become an armed force in like the year 4000 or something like that, or wherever they were in the future.
Very American. And yes, going through that forest with a blindfold on, pretending you can see the angels. That was quite an intense. That was pretty much a whole episode. Was that?
God. Yeah, I do. But yeah, so it's been, because I've seen most of the series before, it's been a good thing just to have on in the background while I'm doing Dyson Sphere.
Yeah.
Been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, sorry, we totally got caught up, but we can keep on talking about this.
We could honestly, because it's a good series. And when we're talking about the writing getting lazier, there have been 2 eras since the Matt Smith one ended. So the Matt Smith one ends, and they bring him back as an angry old Scotsman.
Again, a great actor.
Amazing actor. And honestly, I watched those series just because of that actor. Because he was fucking awesome.
He was. And they also had a comedian... and wait, no, did they have a comedian? What was the assistant? It was...
it was the woman, the souffle person.
Souffle girl.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think it starts with a C.
Clara.
Yeah. She was pretty good too.
She wasn't bad, but the fact that I can't remember her is kind of telling.
The problem with her was she was like, unlike a lot of the other assistants that kind of grow over time, like Rose started out as just a normal person and slowly became cool and awesome. Same thing with the other woman, the redhead.
Catherine Tate.
Yeah. this girl Clara, she starts off just immediately amazing at everything, and then stays amazing at everything.
Yeah, she's very ditzy, but it comes across like they're trying to make her kind of attractive in that ditziness.
Bit like
it's a cool thing.
Kind of like an idiot savant, like that
Yeah.
kind of feel you get from her. And in some episodes it works, and in others it doesn't, but it does mean that she doesn't really have a character arc.
Yeah, it works well for the Doctor, I think, not really for the assistant.
Well, because he's supposed to be this, like, timeless being.
Yeah, that no one can fully understand.
Exactly. But it's just there was that, but at that point, the actors like were what salvaged that series in my mind. But the writing was already getting pretty bad.
Yeah. The monsters weren't scary anymore. There was a lot of contrived plot points that didn't really fix to any other history. Yeah.
And
they pulling at straws.
They were getting heavily into like, let's subvert expectations by like, but they did it in a very predictable way. So there were multiple episodes that I watched, and like 2 minutes into the episode, I'm like, this is what's going to happen by the end.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's what happened at the end. They had very contrived plot points.
Yeah, I can remember like scenes of that were funny.
Yeah.
But I can't. I'm really struggling to remember any actual episodes.
There was a hilarious episode with because the Doctor is I can't remember his name, the old Scottish guy that was playing. What?
Capaldi.
Oh, Capaldi. Yeah. So him. He was locked in a jail cell with Robin Hood, and the two of them are just arguing and shouting at each other. Hilarious scene. The episode was it was an episode where they find themselves in a scenario that is literally the Robin Hood legend, Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood. It turns out all to be some kind of an illusion, and it's not really real, but he ends up locked in a jail cell with Robin Hood, and the two of them are like arguing and shouting at each other, and it's just hilarious. Capaldi does a very good, like, angry person.
I do remember now. First of all, I thought you were talking about the one where the three doctors are in the jail cell in the same
That's a good
era.
one. Yep.
He's not bad.
I mean, I was just happy to see David Tennant come back.
That's true. And the other one I thought you were talking about was the Vikings one, but I think that was actually the lady.
I don't remember that episode.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they so that era happened, and then there was the current one where they decided to gender swap the Doctor, which again they've done previously in the series that established that Time Lords can regenerate in as either gender or whatever. And because one of his primary rivals, another surviving Time Lord called the Master, had regenerated as a woman in like a previous season, and it was actually like a good plot twist. It was like, sorry, you.
Two very important things. I want you to remember that thought.
Okay, go.
First of all, I think before we get on to that new Doctor, I think we need to talk about the assistant that came after Clara and before that.
Who was it?
It was a student at the university who they put so much effort into reminding us all that she was a lesbian.
I completely blocked her out of my mind. Who is this person?
I think the first episode she's in, she like looks into it. There's like a water girl that's following her around the universe.
Hold on.
I'm trying to remember. She was in the episode with the Romans.
Oh my god! Yeah, I completely blocked her out of my mind.
Yeah, that was in my eyes the beginning of the real decline, because they got into ethics. They got strongly into ethics.
Well, because everything they tried to like force modern day. One of the appeals of this show was it was kind of timeless. They would if there was a message or a lesson in the show, it was a timeless message. It's like it's better to solve problems through discord and cleverness rather than through violence. It's always try to see both sides of a problem. Don't assume that your way is the right way all the time. And all these
And it was slipped in smoothly. It was not blunt.
Yeah, exactly. It was the writing was competent and they were able to get, but that was when they really started to like push like specific modern day like cultural topics into, and it was blunt. It was not like it was. You can do stuff like that subtly and try to give a message that like is culturally relevant to the day, but do it in a clever way. This was like grade school level writing, the way that they did this. And so that happens, and you're right, they do remind us she's a lesbian like every other episode.
Yeah. And also you mentioned the Master. I don't know if... I feel like we should talk about the Master after, because he starts all the way back at Tennant, and I think he deserves his own segment.
Yeah. Honestly, he's got his own thing. But anyway, so they had done the whole like Time Lords can regenerate as either gender thing before, and it was handled very competently with the Master, the other Time Lord. This one, again, it happens again, and this time it's the Doctor. He regenerates as a woman, which again could have been handled very well, but I don't want to blame the actress, because I've seen her in other things and she was pretty good, but in this, it was just god awful. Like, and I want to, because I've seen her act well in other things, I want to believe it was like the director, that whoever was directing this and potentially whatever script she had to work with that made it shit, but it was just awful.
Yeah, I've not seen many episodes of the new series. I've seen them on occasion when I've been like around a friend's house. Kind of thing.
I watched part of the first season that she was in and then stopped. I've seen like people talking about subsequent episodes, but I wasn't going to waste my time sitting through it.
I think you've seen a certain episode, because I believe we've spoken about it on the podcast before, where she is on a like leisure pleasure planet, with her 3 companions.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that the one where something about a virus in a bag of chips or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it.
So a guy gets like a burrowing worm coming out of a chip crisp vendor.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's like a hole in the wall, and it turns out the entire world is not actually its paradise, but it's a desolate wasteland with no oxygen, despite the fact that you can actually see trees and fires burning.
Which require oxygen.
Require... And I literally... Like, I was at Alicia's house with her family, and I literally burst out loud laughing at that, because that was so stupid. And then they're like, oh my god, what's this weird writing on the wall? It's Polish. This is Earth. They're like, this is Earth, and this is what happens to it when you pollute.
So they're trying to do like a ham-fisted like environmental message.
They make it so ham-fisted. They get back to the TARDIS at the end, and she's like explaining, this is the Earth, and this is what will happen when global warming hits. Only in a few years' time, if everyone at home, I mean, in the TARDIS with me, is not a good little boy. And it's like, what?
It's not a fucking PSA. Yeah.
Jeez.
The whole
it's Poland. It looks like that anyway. No, I'm kidding.
But it's So they that's kind of what we mean when we say they got very, very ham-fisted about the messaging in that.
Like all there were characters were unlikable.
They did like conservation and environmental messages in like earlier Doctor Who episodes from those earlier eras, and they were good. Like they were subtle enough that we go like, okay, yes, like obviously you don't want to like dump sludge in the river behind you, and it's obviously it's good to make sure that you're preserving bits of nature for people to go out and enjoy and things like that.
Yeah. I think, in fact, not long before, I think there was a Capaldi episode where they're with these miners in, like, Wales.
Yes! Yeah, I've seen that episode.
Yeah, and they're, like, fracking or something, I think.
Yeah. Or they're doing some kind of mining.
Yeah, and they hit like an oxygen bubble from a lost civilization, and then the civilization just starts fucking killing them, or trying to.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, this was so ham-fisted on the nose.
Yeah, it was practically her turning to camera and going, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take a step out from being an actress for a second to tell you about environmental problems."
Well, that's the thing. She had 3 companions, and I'm pretty sure this is how I remember that scene. The 3 companions were stood in a row, like they're lined up for school. She turned away to face away from them, almost into the camera,
and lecture about
speech.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
it's
God, that's just awkward.
It's bad, but anyway, so like, there's that.
But the master,
yeah. So, he apparently was a character all the way back from the original Doctor Who, from what I've heard, and he was a big rival to the original Doctor.
He was as big as, if not bigger than, the Daleks.
Yeah, as an antagonist. The Daleks in this show being a essentially like a
Salt
race.
and pepper grinders with lasers.
Yeah, they kind of look like that, but they're essentially like these heavily armored, super powered, super genius, like quasi-fascist alien race that is all genetically identical and basically hates everything that's not them.
And couldn't climb stairs until the latest series. Well, until the latest, the revamp.
Yeah, because they can fly after that. But anyway, yeah. So the Master is another Time Lord, who again, Doctor's rival for a while, and it's implied throughout most of the new series that all the other Time Lords are dead. But then he shows up. They encounter him in one of the episodes. I want to say it's season 3 or season 4 of the new series. It was in the Tennant era.
I'm about to drop a whole bunch of spoilers in quick succession, alright? Just to get people catched up, right?
Go for it.
Okay, so there's a character called the Face of Bo, who is actually Captain Jack Harkness. After he gets, like, unlimited life, he eventually becomes this insanely old being, meets the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't realise it's Harkness at that point, and the Face of Bo then dies after getting the message, "You are not alone." Then, like, the next episode, or a couple after, the Doctor is on the furthest reaches of the universe.
It was like the year 3 trillion or something like that.
Yeah, like the last few days of the Earth. And Captain Jack Harkness, as a young man, is there with him. They'll go to this silo where there's a bunch of cannibals all over the planet, but there's this like last silo where humans remain, and there's a genius doctor called Dr. Yana. And right at the end of the episode, so they're blasting this rocket off to a paradise kind of world, apparently.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor just wants to give the last people of humanity a hope. And Doctor's reading Dr. Yana's name on screen and realizes YANA is "You Are Not Alone," and realizes that he is the last Doctor as well as... last Time Lord as well as the Doctor.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you take it from there, because that's all.
Yeah, and then he, like, there's a sort of like this watch thing that they use to essentially hide him. Like, he essentially, with this watch, the way he escapes the Time War is he uses it to transform himself into a human. And when he realizes that, like, the watch opens and it transforms him back into a Time Lord, back into the Master. And then their whole rivalry thing sets off again. He, goes back to conquer the Earth, brings, like, all these humans from, like, 1 trillion years in the future as his soldiers to conquer the Earth, which, again, I guess is a spoiler because it's not revealed that they're humans until later.
Yeah. All the people on the rocket who they were going to save, he just picks them all up, turns them into monsters.
Yeah,
and sets himself up as Prime Minister. Yeah,
and then he becomes the Prime Minister. And he also shoots the President in that episode.
Yeah, he did. That was a great fucking 3 episodes, wasn't it?
It was a really good series. Yeah, no, they managed to establish him as a big, threatening character right off the bat.
Yeah.
and he really follows through with it. Especially the episode where he comes back and he's like consuming people, like, cause they do beat him, and then he comes back several episodes later in like I think it's a Christmas special.
Yeah, he gets revived because originally he died in that trilogy.
He did, but he gets revived. But he's like a husk. He's not fully alive yet, and so he's like constantly hungry, and he's like consuming other people's life force just to sustain himself. And that's the episode where he tries to bring the other Time Lords back. Anyway,
and he does.
He does, and then they beat him, but then he shows up again in a later episode, and no one knows it's him. This is in the Matt Smith era, I believe. He comes back again as, he was a master, but now he's the mistress because he's been reincarnated again, and no one knows who he is because now it's a woman, and it's only in the last few minutes of one of the episodes where the Doctor realizes, oh shit, that's who this is. And again, they manage to they keep him as this equally clever to the Doctor rival with much looser morals, and he become so that's how they make him as threatening as he is. But yeah. great antagonist.
Yeah, brilliant actor. I love Johnson in multiple works that he's done, and the female master as well did an excellent fucking job. That was
And I think that really is the tragedy, because it's not the acting talent that they have in these shows in the later seasons. It's that the writing got a lot lazier, a lot lower quality, and they started going for much more... They lost a lot of subtlety. A lot of the things that made the plot entertaining was kind of sacrificed in the name of just, I don't know, doing a PSA.
It felt like they were trying to, every time they did it, every time they released an episode and it inevitably crashed, they doubled down for the next episode. They're like, right, we need to make something dramatic, we need to bring everyone back on side, we'll do something crazy and significant. Yeah. And it wouldn't fit with the rest of the story, and people would just hate it even more, and they'd keep going down this spiral.
Yeah, to the point where I think...
no one cared.
I think one of the things they changed, so it was established the Doctor can only regenerate a certain number of times. Yeah. And that the first one was the first one, but they changed it, so now he's regenerated 1 billion times. And actually, he's not a Time Lord, he's a tiny black girl that was a weird rift in time, and... Yeah, this is one of the more recent ones they did.
He's a tiny black girl now?
That's how he started. He started as a tiny black girl, and then he was experimented on, and then he regenerated 1 million times, and now he's... it's just gone off the deep end.
So he had, from the beginning, it was said that he has 12 regenerations. Any Time Lord has 12 regenerations. It got to the Matt Smith era, and he's in a Christmassy town. And I'm not surprised you don't remember this, because it was a really bad episode.
Yeah, it was. But I have seen that episode.
And he's in a bell tower, and he's screaming, and he's like, oh, just give me one more life. And they just give him one more life. Because
yeah, again, bit contrived, but... I could see what they wanted to keep the show going, and they needed a way to... And I think that's establishes why he regenerates as this older, kind of more decrepit version of himself.
Yeah. But, it's changed from being a thing where it was a biological thing, where Time Lords... That's just a Time Lord's lifespan.
Yeah.
You just get 12 lives, you're dead. And now it seems to be more like a... You go down to your local precinct and ask for another life, please.
So you fill out your life application form, and then
shit, I'm late with the paperwork, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah, they did. There's a lot more contrivance in the later series. Yeah. Anyway, we actually filled up this entire segment just talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, it's something we're both quite passionate about, I think.
I mean, it's a very enjoyable series. I really, especially those first few seasons, after it was rebooted, or restarted, I should say. It wasn't rebooted. It was just continued from the older series. Yeah, quite good. Yeah. And it's a shame that the writing quality has dropped off so much.
And we got another fantastic story, which is both close to both of us.
Yep, I'm going to be finishing up the synopsis and our discussion of The Golden Sun, the second book in the Red Rising trilogy. So yeah, look forward to that. But yeah, this is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 3, our wildcard segment, which we are continuing on from last week, where we were going through The Golden Sun, the second book in the Red Rising trilogy.
Not to be mistaken, but no, I can't say that. Go on.
Oh, God. When I left off last week, I believe the last thing I had talked about was the attack and their escape from Luna.
Yeah.
So to quickly summarize... Sorry?
No, sorry, you summarize, because I forgot what we got.
Yeah, to quickly summarize... Sorry, I just hit my mic because my chair is slowly sinking, and I needed to put it back up. This chair's old, and it's starting to go, so the hydraulics aren't exactly working. So to summarize, in the second book of this series, we pick up with Darrow, who is at the academy. He's commanding a ship. He loses his last battle between him and one of the people from the Bologna, a rival house, and barely escapes. Tons of people on his ship die, and when he's back, kind of sulking that, I was so close and I lost, those same people, beat the shit out of him and then pee on him. And because of all this humiliation, the guy, Augustus, the Arch-Governor of Mars, was like, yeah, sorry, I'm going to sell off your contract. Can't have you around embarrassing us. So they go to the moon. At the moon, there is, he meets up with some old friends, talks to some old people. He tries to find ways to get a friend or someone he can use to buy his contract of service. He also meets up with the Sons of Ares again. They inform him, but specifically Harmony, the wicked, violent Red. She convinces him using videos from when his wife was hanged that he should go in and suicide bomb the Golds. He knocks out Roke, one of his friends, because he doesn't want him there getting blown up. And then when he is at the dinner there, he finally, something clicks in his mind, and he's like, no, just blowing these people up isn't going to solve anything. There's one way to destroy the society. And so he goes over and challenges the guy who was his friend, but now is his bitter blood rival, Cassius. Kicks over a glass of wine into his lap and, challenges him to a duel. So they have a big duel. Cassius is winning at first, and then Darrow reveals that he'd trained with this legendary swordsman and then kicks his ass and chops his arm off. He's stopped from killing him by Mustang, the love interest from the first book, who actually came to this thing on the arm of Cassius. She stops him, reminds him that he's better than that. But then there's a big brawl happening because the Sovereign tries to stop the fight and stop the killing, and everyone's like, no, you're violating your own rules, and it breaks out into an all-out fight between the two families and those families' allies. The Augustus family, they escape, and then they see out in the yard and stuff there are other families hunting down other families and people getting killed and slaughtered. People are just taking the opportunity to settle old grudges while they can, while the violence is going on. They manage to get back to their compound, but I did things out of order. They get back to their compound first, and then in the middle of the night they realize something's wrong because people have gone missing or something.
No, I think they split up.
They split up, that's okay. And at some point, Darrow realizes that that the Aulun family, the Sovereign's family, she's taking this opportunity to just slaughter the Augustans.
Yeah,
and so,
they head... I think they head... do they head to the Swordmaster's planet?
No, not yet. So
okay.
they're locked down I'm kind of going over stuff from last time just to make sure we know where we're picking up. I summarized the first chunk of the book pretty quickly, but they're locked down, and Darrow doesn't know how he's gonna like get out of this because the Sovereign's got all these like heavy military types around, and then the Howlers show up. They blow out his window and come in with the bag. They've got the Sovereign's grandson and heir like in a duffel bag.
Lysander.
Lysander, yeah, and they realize, all right, we got to go out and try to rescue the Augustans. And so they fly out and they find in a swamp, in a hot spring essentially, the rest of the Gold's hiding. So Augustus, some members of his household, his son, the Jackal, all hiding in there. And using Lysander as a hostage, they manage to escape. But not before one of the head guards, I can't remember her name, and it starts with an A.
The swordsman.
Yeah, the crazy lady, the one who's like one of the Sovereign's closest guards. I can't remember her name either. It starts with an A. Anyway, she grabs one of Darrow's friends out of the air, Roke's love interest, and just completely like slaughters. Well, not slaughters her, but slams her head against the ground, and essentially kills her. Not kills her, but mortally wounds her. They manage to get her back. They get on a shuttle, and they're trying to escape the planet. As they're trying to escape the planet, the Jackal... No, not the Jackal. One of Tactus, one of Darrow's friends from the Academy, betrays them and grabs the Sovereign's grandson and leaves the ship and goes back. And now they don't have enough time. The ship's way too slow to get them to their own ships before the Sovereign figures out that her grandson's now safe and opens fire on them. So Darrow comes up with a crazy fucking plan. Him and Severo, they get inside these giant assault mech suits, fire themselves off at the Sovereign's flagship, and bash through the window and essentially take over the whole ship. Or take over the bridge with that surprise attack. They damage the fuck out of their suits. They're all disoriented from the blast, but they're both alive. Which again, badass way to board a ship. It's established that one wrong move and they're dead in a millisecond throughout this maneuver. And Darrow thinking okay, how do I take over this ship? Because he's just got two people essentially. There's tons of other golds and other people on the ship, and so he gets the communications. And he announces to everyone else on the ship that, I've taken over this ship, and listen to me, all the people who are not golds on this ship. It's there's a button up here on the bridge, and any gold can access it. And if I press that button, I vent the ship, and I take it, and all you are dead, but I have the ship. And he's I'm telling you this because I'm not going to press that button. Only if you guys help me take the ship. And he convinces all of the other lower colors on the ship to turn on the golds. And, they all... They do. They take over the ship that way. And that's when one of the best characters in this series shows up. Ragnar Valaris. This massive fucking obsidian. Which are the warrior colors. They're he's established to be 2.5 meters tall. This giant hulking bruiser of a guy. And, Darrow manages to convince him to work with him and to serve him and whatnot, and they agree, and it's an interesting moment. So they take that flagship essentially, and that's how they manage to escape. Is they use that as their cover and get away, and they manage to run off and escape back to Mars with the Augustan family and everything like that. And essentially, they've started a civil war now. And so now the next thing is the planning stage. How are they going to take and hold Mars? Well, how are they going to keep Mars? And they try to do... they come up with some more plans to go out to the shipyards around Ganymede and Jupiter and to take some ships there. In the meantime, Darrow's going to go and meet with his old swordsman teacher and convince him to come with him and fight for them. Yeah, convince, exactly.
Yeah.
He's doing the quotation fingers. So they go out there. Darrow does manage to convince him, but in a very underhanded kind of way, because the Sovereign's people show up there on the planet and threaten the guy's family, essentially forcing him to join him. Darrow's kind of laid a trap, though, so he blows away the Sovereign's people who are there, and also defeats their ships in orbit, and convinces him in that way to rejoin him. So then Darrow... What?
Flies away on a griffin.
Flies away in a griffin, that's true. I love the fact that that's one of the things I like about this book's lore, is because they've, like, genetic engineering has progressed as far, they've essentially created mythical creatures, like people who are just, like, genetically engineering, like, griffins and krakens and all these creatures of legend.
Mm.
And that is something they talk about in the books. I think they talk about it a bit in this one and later. They point out that the Golds have essentially stagnated. Like, they've begun to think of themselves as gods, and they've crafted all of these mythical beings for themselves, and they've just...
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why it was so easy for Darrow to start a civil war was because the Golds have been trying for however many hundreds of years to become just stronger and more powerful, and they have nothing to actually fight against because they are the strongest things in the universe.
They're the apex predators. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that's all I was going to say on that.
Mm. So, after taking that planet, there's also like I won't go into some of the details of the conversation he has with Lauren, which is his teacher, Lornel Arcos. They find out that Augustus has been captured. Like, the Arch-Governor Mars, he's been captured. He failed in his mission to take the ships at the Ganymede shipyards, and now Mars is essentially in the hand of the Bologna family, the rival family, and the Sovereign. So Darrow comes up with, like, a daring plan to retake the planet. And... Oh, he also finds out who Ares is at this point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, also, we need to talk about Fitchner becoming part of the Swordsman. That was this.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, no, we didn't. That didn't get brought up. So, no. Okay, no, he finds out about. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That does happen, but it's after this scene. So,
okay.
Darrow calls for, like, he takes advantage of this thirst the Golds have for glory and prestige,
conquest.
And
Iron
conquest.
Rain.
He calls an Iron Rain, which is essentially just in the same mech suits they use to take over the ship, like him and Severo. It's essentially from orbit, just Golds firing down in these mech suits and raining down on the planet, and then conquering the cities that way.
And it's kind of, being part of an Iron Rain is something with, like, extra levels of glory, like...
Yeah.
That's the shit where people are like, that was the good old days when we were blasting dick first into our planet and it couldn't stop us.
Yeah, like because that's how the Golds because the Golds originated from people who lived on the moon, and they took over Earth by doing an Iron Rain, like hundreds of years ago. And that's how they came to rule the whole solar system. So he calls it, and of course tons of people flock to his banner, and they're all, like, eager to get a little piece of that glory, a little taste of that action.
New empire, yeah.
Yeah. And so they rain down, and there's an epic battle, and there's all this stuff that happens. There are traps that are set for them, and they get around them in some ways. What? He
and Severo and several other main characters almost die from drowning.
Yes, yeah, because they get hit with an EMP, and it knocks their suits out, and they fall into a river.
And not even they are strong enough to swim in basically a giant suit of metal that can't move.
Yeah. But Darrow manages to use his razor and almost takes his whole arm off, but he uses his razor to cut his way out of the suit and then cut Ragnar out, and then Ragnar and him... Like, this is a big point. He convinces Ragnar to pick up a razor, which it's a death sentence for anyone beside a Gold to touch one of these things.
Yeah.
But the two of them managed to cut their way through the people who ambushed them, and then, save their friends.
Then, a very important thing about the Howlers at that scene.
One of the Howlers, one of them is so profoundly offended that he's picked that up. She like starts threatening Ragnar like to put the razor down, or she's going to attack him. But Severo and the other Howlers back Darrow up, and they're like, yeah. It's like, no, back the I think her name was Thistle. The nickname.
I think so.
So they get her to back the fuck down.
I think, is that the day that Ragnar earns his coat? No, that's the fucking the on the ship, the friendly one.
Yeah, you're thinking that. That's
Darrow.
Yeah, that's different. But Ragnar does lead a contingent of Obsidians, and they alone manage to take an entire troop of Golds out and take a gate to this city.
Yeah.
So this is the key scene, though. They barely manage to, after recovering what's left of his, squad of Howlers and stuff, they barely manage to get to the compound where the Sovereign is on Mars. And but because they have like the grav boots they have are like shot and crapping out, like they barely manage to get Darrow to the top of the wall, but no one else is able to get in.
Yep.
Because they crap out, and Darrow just decides, okay, I can't miss this opportunity. He goes in solo, despite his friends like shouting for him to stop. And he manages to somehow, like by the skin of his teeth, make it onto the shuttle that has the Sovereign on it. But inside,
Sorry,
were you gonna say
something? I think you've skipped a part, because we've definitely skipped the part with. What's his name? Getting knighted.
Fitchner?
Yeah.
So we didn't entirely. So I'm getting to that because that is a key to this scene.
Yeah.
So I think they mentioned it earlier, but Fitchner, the Proctor of Mars, the one that from the first book, that's Severo's father, who kind of reluctantly helps him out in the first book. He's managed to like work his way up and become like knighted as one of the highest tier knights in the society, and personal guards of the Sovereign, essentially. So he's in the ship too. So he gets up there. It's the female Valkyrie, who I don't remember her name. Not Valkyrie, Harpy.
Yeah, the fucking swordsman lady.
The one that crushed his friend's head. Fitchner. One of the Bologna, I think it's Cassius. No, not Cassius. The big bruiser guy, who's a dickhead.
I can't really remember many of the other knights, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a knight. He was just one of the other Bologna. He was the one that beat him and pissed on him.
Oh,
I can't.
The big brother. I can't remember.
Yeah,
his name.
I can't remember his name either. Anyway, and then the Sovereign's there too. And they see him there. He's muddy. He's bloody. He's like basically unarmed. All he has is like a pulse grenade that he managed to like steal from somebody on the ground. And he has that, and he's kind of threatening them with that don't come closer. I'll just blow us all up. And then the Sovereign just decides to make him look like an asshat and just turns the ship abruptly, because he doesn't have like the grav boots anymore. He gets thrown around and loses the grenade, and it flies out back the ship. And so then they all start, like, they come after him. Fitchner's trying to stop them and go like, no, we should keep him alive and stuff like that. A bunch of shit happens very quickly. The older Bologna brother dies. It's just, I can't remember like all of what happened. It all happens very quickly, and Darrow's like passing out during it, so you don't get a clear picture in the book, if I remember right. But what happens next is they find themselves like somewhere safe. Like he's in a hospital bed, recovering from his injuries. And that's when it's revealed that Fitchner was the one that saved him and got him back there. And that Fitchner is actually Ares. Like, he's actually, like him, a gold. He's Ares. And it's explained that the reason that he became Ares and started this whole rebellion was because he ended up, like, falling in love with a red. Him being a gold. And they had some secret genetic modifications done so that they could have a kid, and that kid is Severo, which is why he's kind of short for a gold, and it doesn't exactly have the most refined features, let's say. And
he's an odium motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they call him Goblin. And so it's funny that that they have this moment where it's like, so Severo's half gold, and he's like, yeah, it was a fucking surprise for me too. Severo just has some great lines in that whole.
He is.
Whole
He's
book. Just an awesome character.
He is.
Yeah, so that happens, and they've essentially retaken. Him and Mustang finally get together, in the hospital bed. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh, that happens.
Okay, I was thinking of what happens next. The big secret.
The big reveal. Yeah, so he realizes that he kind of made a promise to himself to stop lying to those closest to him, and so he decides to reveal the fact that he's a Red to Mustang. And so they revisit his mine, Lycos, where he was as a Red, so he could see his family again. And it's only been a few years at this point, like 3 or 4 years. And he goes down there, and near the end, he hands a data thing to Mustang. It's like, if you really want to be a part of my life, if you really want me to let you in 100%, watch this. And if you really want that, follow me in here. Otherwise, you can go. And so he goes into the room, and it's his mother. And his mother, there's this really touching moment where his mother recognizes him despite all the cutting and carving that's been done to him to make him look completely different. And they have a little heart-to-heart, and but then he sees on his data pad that Mustang left. She didn't follow him in. And
oof.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the fields.
Yeah. Anyway, so that happens. That heart-to-heart happens. They leave the mine. There's a confrontation between him, Mustang, and Ragnar on their way out, if I remember right, where she basically tells him to fuck off.
They almost blow her up.
They do almost blow her up as well.
Yeah. I can't remember how that ends. No, they think that they're chasing her, and it turns out she's just on Darrow's ship or something. Is that right?
Something. There's a bit of that I'm kind of vague on. I can't remember exactly how that scene goes, but essentially they go after her and they don't get her, and there's a very tense confrontation of some kind. They kind of go their separate ways, and because of that, so Mustang's father, the arch governor, Mr. Au Augustus, he is holding on Mars a triumph. In the Roman style, if a Roman general conquered and did some great thing for Rome, they would hold a triumph. There's giant parade and festivities and things, and usually would end with, in the Roman sense, it would end with the execution of a conquered king most of the time. And that'll but in this it's essentially in that same style. He's conquered Mars, and so they hold a triumph from its big celebration and whatnot. And here's where everything just goes fucking crazy. Roke betrays him, and
his friend from the beginning.
Yeah, the man that he tried to spare from the explosion that he thought was going to happen, poisons him, so he's essentially paralyzed.
It's kind of fucked up.
Several people in there who were disguised as waiters turn out to actually be other golds from rival houses and rival factions, and they slaughter. It's Victra, the woman who was sister to Antonia, but who has kind of come over and become a close friend to him.
Yeah, kind of loved Darrow a bit.
Yeah. She gets shot in the back, and because by her sister, exactly. Yeah. And it paralyzed her from the waist down, and she's crawling over to Darrow and just clutching onto him, just with her last words, just going it's I didn't know. I didn't know this. I didn't know. Like, it just, like, in her last words are just her trying to tell him, like, I didn't betray you. She's got there's a whole unrequited love thing going on with those two.
Lorne gets it.
Yeah, Lorne dies. What is it? A couple of the children from the families of the outer planets, they get slaughtered.
Strangely, quite a few people aren't at the ceremony, though.
Yeah, quite a few people, like Mustang and a bunch of others, aren't there. Well, mainly because of that confrontation that happened.
Yeah. Severo in the Hells.
The Telemonuses aren't there. Severo isn't there because he went to look for his father because his father was missing.
Yeah, was Nero? Was he there?
You're talking about Nero is
the Augustus, head of the household. Was he already dead?
Nero's the arch governor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. He's there, and this is the big culmination scene, is his son, the Jackal, is one of the people that orchestrates the whole thing, and Darrow witnesses him, like, talking to his father, and his father's like, he's like, are you proud of me now? I've conquered all this and done all this, and Nero's like, no, you're a fucking monster. How could you do this to our family? And the Jackal's like, oh, too bad, and he just shoots him in the head. Which these new allies of his get really pissed about because they needed him as like a bargaining chip or something like that, or some for some reason, either to put him on trial or something like that.
This is the Red Wedding of the Red Rising series.
Essentially, yeah. And Roke, like, reveals to Darrow in that moment that, like, essentially, like, he found out that he was actually a Red, and just from that point on, like, he's just like, I must serve my people. You're nothing but a liar and stuff like this. And
yeah.
And then, like, the last big reveal of the book is they handed him a box and just opened it in front of him, and in the box is Fitchner's head, Severo's dad, Ares. And that's where the book ends.
Yeah.
Big plot twist at the end, and
massive,
very dark ending. Because
so many deaths.
Whereas the first book ended on a very, like, upbeat note, it's like, we've just conquered, and the second book feels like it's going to end that way, but at the last second, they got that big gut punch plot twist.
And oof, boy, does I'm not gonna say any spoilers, but book 3 opens pretty fucking dramatically.
And it's, God, is it dark? I think I'm in part 3 of book 3 right now.
Okay.
I actually have to
cold planet.
I have to figure out where I left off because earlier this week, I was playing Morrowind on the Xbox, and I had my headphones on. I was just listening to the audiobook while I was doing it, and I don't know, it was like 10 or 11 at night, and I was kind of laid down on my couch playing, and I fell asleep at some point, and I woke up like a few hours later at like 2 a.m. and to like Severo yelling in the book, and I was like, oh god, it's gone on a lot longer. I don't know what's going on. So I have to find where I actually fell asleep.
Oh, did you leave the cold planet?
Yes. Yeah, they're past the cold planet now. But yeah, so
well, anyway,
second book, when I was looking online, because I always review audiobooks when I finish them, just put a star rating. I saw a lot of people complaining about the second book. They didn't like it as much as the first one. They felt like there was problems. I don't know. I liked it. Like,
there was a lot more movement in the second one. In the first book, it's basically the mines, the city, the institute, and that's it. It's a lot easier to remember the things that happen because there's a very...
It all takes place on Mars.
Yeah, whereas this is, you're bouncing all over the universe. Maybe that's what people don't like.
Yeah, it starts out in like the asteroid belt, and then it goes back to Mars, and then it goes to Luna, and then it goes to Ganymede, and then it goes back to Mars. So, you are bouncing all over the solar system in this book.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think it is probably... Of the 3 books, it's probably my least favourite, but it's still a phenomenally good book. And that last scene in particular, it's fucking beautiful.
Oh, God.
Some of the reveals, the drama...
It's a gut punch. I won't lie. I like I had tears in my eyes listening to that last little bit with Victra like crawling over to him.
Yeah.
Like that was like, oh, it got me right in the feels.
And the same with his mother.
Oh yeah, when she recognizes him for the first. Yeah, there's a lot of really. This book series does like emotional scenes so well. Like when he's getting them hyped up to go for the Iron Rain on Mars. I had like goosebumps on my arms listening. I was like, oh my god! Like it was a really good like inspirational speech.
Especially because the voice actor is good.
But the author, the writer, like seems to have a very good understanding of the kind of things that motivate armies in war.
He obviously knows a lot about like Roman tactics.
Yeah,
for a start.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, no, it's brilliant. But you'll have to wait another 3 weeks till our next book review.
Yeah, and by then I should be finished with the third book, which is called, what is it, Morning Star? I think the...
Morning Star, yeah.
Morning Star, yeah. Quite good. But yeah, I'm still enjoying the series.
And then the After Trilogy book,
which
I'll have to read at some point.
I'm not going to read. I believe you when you said that they were kind of crap after these ones.
I think there's only one book after it, that I'm aware of, at least.
There are 3.
I do still think you should read it. I absolutely do. And maybe you'll really enjoy it. I just know that I didn't.
I mean, I'll take a look at it. I got plenty of Audible credits, so...
Yeah.
But I think after I finish this series, there's another book that I've been meaning to read. I've been going through a lot of sci-fi lately, so I think I need a break from sci-fi. Read something a little bit different.
I think that if you're going to read the 4th book, I think you should get that in physical paper form.
Oh?
I think it might be a lot better in physical paper form.
Did it have like a crap voice actor or something like that?
One of the main... Well, maybe not the main gripe, but one of the main gripes I had about the 4th book in the series is that they had 4 or 5 different voice actors.
Oh, okay.
And they kept switching between them.
That can be done well, because like the that Formic Wars series I talked about a few times, they do that. They have a different voice actor for each character. Yeah, but it's always the voice actor for the character that is telling the chapter. And it works out because most of the time the characters aren't together. They're kind of scattered around throughout the solar system. They interact with each other, but they don't... It's rare that they're all together in the same place. So it actually worked out well for that book because it was like, okay, in this chapter I know it's being told by this character because I can just the voice immediately. And it did well. But I can see, for this series, they've had one very good voice actor, like, reading through the book. And he
still reads part of it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is this guy that they have in this current series has a very good vocal range. Like, he can do very well, like I know when he's talking as each person, because he's using different accents. He's using...
whether it's an obsidian or a gold...
He's very good with the different accents. He is very good with the different pitches. Like, it's obvious when Ragnar's talking because of the deep, booming voice. And then, like, it's obvious when one of the, like, the Reds are talking because it's always, like, a more higher-pitched kind of voice. And then... Yeah,
and the different genders.
Just very good all around. But yes, so far, it's still loving the series, and I'm on the 3rd book now, so highly recommend... If you're into this, even like people who aren't a huge fan of sci-fi could probably like this because the story really isn't about like the hard science fiction. There are sci-fi bits in it, and it's cool to hear about the technology they're using, but they don't go into too much detail. It's more about the characters, the factions, and how the society is structured and how it's kind of become stagnant and decadent, almost like the actual Roman Empire.
If you like social constructs, you'll like it. If you like epic battles, you'll like it. If you like politics, you will like it.
If you like character drama, you'll like it.
Yeah, even history, because like it's about all different kind of races being brought together on one side, whereas the others are trying to enslave them. I mean... Yeah. Yeah, it's very good.
Anyway, yeah, great book. Yeah, oh my god, I could just... at this point, it's just like we're just kind of waffling on in the afterglow, just thinking back on the book. Just like, yeah, it was so good. Anyway, Anything else you want to say before I... Oh, announcement for next week. We've got to figure out something special to do because next week is episode 52, which is the 1 year mark.
Right.
Because 52 weeks in a year, we have done an entire... we've been doing this regularly every week for an entire year.
I think it's meant to be a quiz week next week.
We'll have to figure out some... I have some ideas that I'll discuss with you after this for what we could potentially do to mark that out as a special one.
Okay. Always. Also, I think it's your turn to ask me. Because I did food. You did food for me last time.
I did food for you last time, so it's you quizzing me.
Yeah, you're right. I got it wrong around in my head. Okay, cool.
But yeah, look forward to that for next week. But for now, this is going to be the end of episode 51 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again next week.
Go out and enjoy the sunshine.